Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So I wanted to talk about the election, talk about the polling, and kind of analyze this quote-unquote Harris surge that we're seeing. Is it even real? What's going on with the state of the election? Because it's very true that there is some sort of energy boost that we see on the left. They're more enthusiastic now that Joe Biden is out of the way. At least that's the way it seems like on the internet. But there is something to the polling where it does beg a lot of questions. And we see this here. It's not like Harris is gaining a ridiculous amount either on Donald Trump. Donald Trump, if you look at the Trump v. Biden polls, he was leading by 3.1 percentage points. He was at 47.9%. He is currently at the same 47.9% now. However, Kamala Harris has gained about 1.4% compared to Joe Biden. A lot of those people are partisan Democrats coming home. The polls look the way that they did probably around a month or two ago, except there's far fewer undecideds in the mix, which is usually not good for the losing party. And you see this here, Trump with basically 48%. If he gets 48% in the popular vote, he's going to win regardless. So he's already in a very strong position. And you see this here. It's not like he's really losing any sort of ground. It's not like Trump voters are flocking to Kamala Harris. You're not seeing that whatsoever. But you are seeing this big, boost for Kamala. In the media, you have like this honeymoon period or whatever. Is it really affecting the approval ratings? We'll have to look into it because we could look at the favorable ratings of Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Joe Biden's favorable rating, it's still low, but it went up a little bit actually. Donald Trump's is going up. You could look at this. Trump's favorable rating. There's a poll from ABC News that honestly, it's even questionable if you want to include it in the aggregate. The Ipsos poll. They, sampled 1,200 adults, not even checking for registered voters, and it shows him taking a nosedive and Kamala just skyrocketing, which does not seem like it's an organic thing. Because all the other polls, even though they show a tight race, like Forbes, Wall Street Journal, CNN, New York Times, Economist, etc., they show Donald Trump's favorable rating near an all-time high. The average in the recent polling is probably around, I would say, 45, 46% in the polls besides the ABC News taken after the incident in Butler, Pennsylvania, or the RNC. And you're kind of seeing it. Trump's favorable rating is near an all-time high. His net unfavorables are in the single digits. That's really never been the case. You look at 2016, before Election Day, he was down minus 20. If you look at 2020, leading up to Election Day, he was, obviously as president, he had more, support among Republicans. He was down minus 13. Now he currently is down just 8.7. And you see that here. Despite a lot of negative media coverage, he's still going up, and he's on the up and up for sure. That kind of does make sense given the RNC. But you look at Kamala Harris, and this is a little strange here, because Kamala Harris, she was extraordinarily unpopular. Going back to March, she had a favorable rating of 35.7%. That's in the gutter. That's below 2016 Trump. That's below any approval rating that Joe Biden even has had in the aggregate. And even before she joined the ticket, her favorable rating was about 37%, 38%, and then it just skyrockets to 42%. So could this be just Democrats coming home and stomaching Harris? She's still below Trump. Or is it a sign of a response bias? Because I think you could make the case for either. But if this is because Democrats are coming home or people are buying into the sugar high, that probably you could say is more of a sign of a temporary bump, and she's still not winning, which is kind of the big problem for her. But you look into this a little bit deeper, and you look at Biden's approval rating. Biden's approval rating jumped up. Democrats, if Democrats are really just coalescing behind the nominee, you would think that, maybe Biden's approval rating, they could be more honest about Biden's job performance. But Biden's job performance since he, dropped out, he's also surged about 3 points. So maybe this is because people are approving of his decision to step down, and that's possible. But also, could it be a response bias? Yes. We polled Michigan. Donald Trump shared the results of the poll on his Truth Social. But while polling Michigan, we noticed there was a big, Democrat surge in responses compared to, the way it usually goes, which, that might be a positive sign for Democrats because of enthusiasm. But on another note, it's just entirely possible that Democrats right now are seeing this sugar high and they're being overrepresented in certain polls. And I know pollsters wait for it. We wait for it. But, left-leaning independents, could they possibly be, in the mix and moving the polls in that direction? It's possible. I'm not saying pollsters are, uniquely manipulating the numbers besides maybe Ipsos, because Ipsos is trash. They had Biden winning by 2 in the first poll, I believe they released after the debate. Like, they're not a pollster that I really regard with any legitimacy. And on the flip side, I don't really look at Rasmussen as anything other than like an aggregate corrector for some of those other polls. I don't think Trump is up 7 nationally on Kamala Harris either. But I do believe he's winning, and he's winning even in the polls that you possibly could be seeing a response bias in, which is a good sign for Trump. And he's also winning the swing states. But like I said, we are going to witness a just massive, massive astroturfing campaign. We were living in an alternate reality. The media was turning on Biden. They were actually covering Biden fairly because they wanted him gone. It's impressive to see how the media pressure really was able to seep into the Democrat leadership and kind of force a soft coup of Biden out. And now Harris is in the mix, and it's not like she's a uniquely strong candidate. Some people are afraid of her. But it's like, if anything, if we were asked who would you rather go up against of like all these prominent Democrats, a few months ago, everybody would have said Harris over people like Newsom or Whitmer or Josh Shapiro or any of those possible hypothetical candidates. I still would be confident Trump could beat any of them because Trump is just a unique political figure. He's probably going to turn out over 70 million voters this cycle. Even if turnout drops, he might still add voters to his column from last time in the raw vote count, which is huge. But Democrats did this because they need a glimmer of hope and enthusiasm bump. And Harris, really hasn't been being attacked a whole lot, period, up to this point. Here and there. But, the fact she's seeing a surge now is a little strange because usually when you are polled up against somebody who is below 50% in the favorables and you're like generic, you'd be beating them. In the polls between Trump and Harris, not too long ago, if you want to look at these polls back here, he was up in some of these polls by a ridiculous amount. Harris was polling worse than Biden until she became the nominee. So there's plenty of questions there. But either way, Trump's up. But like I said, we're seeing this campaign astroturfed. Google election interference. You search Trump on Google, you get a bunch of news propping up Kamala Harris. And you saw Instagram censoring the iconic picture of Donald Trump with his fist in the air with some arbitrary fact check that didn't make any sense. It's like they add things to something that's not there and say, oh, this is actually fake. But those things weren't said. It was the USA Today that was a part of the fact check. But eventually they corrected course. They're like, oh, this is an error. And it's like, okay, whatever. But you see it work. And it's so good that more people are, not susceptible to this bias. And it's a really good thing that Elon Musk owns Twitter or X or whatever you want to call the platform, because now you at least have some, avenue of getting the real news out there without censorship. And it definitely can open up a lot of people's, minds. You still have a lot of dumb people on the left, these, professional agitators that will try and take everything Trump says, clip it, take it out of context, or just blatantly lie about Trump and his agenda. I don't really know who that plays to other than like super liberal voters anyways, to be fair. But you look at this, Kamala Harris and her campaign, it's still terminally online in many cases. It's still very woke. It's just Biden's campaign rebranded. It's the same people running Biden's campaign that ran it into the ground in part. They do have all this money. Where's the money going? You see all these weird advertisements they're putting out and all the Zoom calls they're paying for. They're astroturfing a lot for sure, but doesn't necessarily mean they're turning her into a world beater. And you look at who her possible VP picks are, seem like the initial, short list included people like Josh Shapiro, Mark Kelly, and then there's some revelations about each of those candidates, and there's some potential scandals that could be in their closets that, would come out and possibly hurt the Harris campaign. A lot of those picks were seen originally as like the gold standard for the Democrats, but now we see more names. Jim Clyburn touting Pete Buttigieg, and you see Tim Walz, who egged on the BLM riots just like Kamala Harris did, let his state burn to the ground. And now you have Gary Peters emerging, skyrocketing as a potential VP pick, and he's the biggest non-factor ever. In Michigan, nobody even knows who the guy is. He underperformed Biden in 2020. I don't think he would do really much to deliver Michigan for Kamala Harris. He has very low name recognition. I don't think he hurts her. I don't think he hurts the ticket, but this guy is not going to add anything that's going to really peel off a lot of voters, period. Plain and simple. He's a very low profile senator. Doesn't have a lot of charisma either. This guy is basically Tim Kaine the sequel, and we all know how that turned out back in 2016. Vance would eat him alive. I would actually like to see it happen. We'll just have to really wait and see on that front. But either way, Donald Trump's still in a very good position. 99 days before Election Day, we got to make sure we chase ballots and, be our own ground game and get people we know out to vote. Make sure we can make this victory happen. Find people who never voted before who like Trump. Get them out to vote. That's kind of the most important thing. We want to run up the raw vote totals, especially in the swing states that matter. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.